welcome back to another episode of the horror section. So today's show, we have a very special guest. We have Sam coming with us from the wonderful, award-winning JumpCut family. So Sam, tell us about yourself. Welcome.
Welcome to me. I am Sam. I am the multimedia manager is the title I've been given over at JumpCut. Basically, videos and stuff like that is pretty much me.
Brilliant.
It's that simple. It's not very exciting. Any videos you see, the podcast, stuff like that, it's me working away in a little bunker, churning them out, and then they come out and it's done.
That's pretty exciting. I mean, they are very good. So
yeah, he's doing himself a massive disservice there. He's incredibly good.
Yeah.
So,
more guys.
So we're gonna make him blush. We'll leave it alone. So this is, as you know, the horror section where we talk about all things horrible. So what sort of horror tastes do you tend to go for?
I'm quite particular with horror because I'm not the biggest fan of it, if I'm honest with you. The horrors that I kind of like are more like your kind of 80s.
Get off. Why are you on this show? What is this?
You invited the wrong Sam.
Dang it.
I don't know. It's just the horrors I like are more like the kind of 80s practical effects, really gory, nasty stuff. Nice. A lot of the modern stuff doesn't really cut it for me. And I know that's really like odd. But
especially with your shirt that you're currently wearing.
Exactly.
That very well-known 80s horror film, Midsummer.
Yeah, the great soundtrack by Kenny Loggins.
All those techno neon zombies and the demons and
Florence Pugh, embryotic Florence Pugh in that movie, amazing.
That would be incredible if she was doing if it was just Midsummer but neon and she went on a little rage. We should make this. We'll do this.
I'll write it down.
We've got an idea.
Yeah, it's happening. Someone phone Florence. She'll see if she's down with it.
She's probably cooking on Instagram. She's too busy for us.
She does that a lot. But it's lockdown. Everybody's got to cope. Today we are talking about As Above, So Below. It is a 2014 horror thriller directed by John Eric Dowd, who also wrote Quarantine. I don't know if either of you guys have seen Quarantine.
Not seen Quarantine.
Have you seen Wreck by any chance?
Yes.
So Quarantine is the US version.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah. If she's going to say I want the shit version.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's the not quite as good version. To be polite.
Bollocks is what it is.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So it stars Perdita Weeks as Scarlett and Ben Feldman as George. Right. So, what did you think initially? So, before you'd really seen it all, maybe the first sort of posters you'd seen or the first sort of trailers, what were your thoughts on As Above, So Below?
Initially, I remember the posters coming out and the trailers in the cinema, and I just thought, this is just another shitty found footage movie, kind of cashing in on Paranormal Activity.
Mm-hmm.
And in a way, it kind of is.
Yeah.
But when I did actually watch it, I thought there was a bit more to it than most of those films at the time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So your first impression was probably a bit worse than what you came out with?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Interesting marketing technique. Georgie, what was your sort of initial reaction?
Everything about the film on paper is so inherently my bag. All I ever wanted was to be Scarlett. She's just a lady Indiana Jones. I'm sick. I just want them
But a bit more. She is a bit of a dick, but we'll get onto that later.
We will get onto that. That's a whole. I've got a whole segment prepared for
nice.
That. But yeah, it's everything about it screams, this is something you're gonna love. And then I watched
it. And it did not.
What did you think, huh?
Well, I thought very similar, which probably is not a shock. Yeah, I know. I really like the Catacombs, and I really like Paris, and I've been to both. So I was like, this is really cool, because I've always been really interested in like where else it goes under the city and like what else is hidden under there. So I was always like, yeah, pretty game, but I didn't see it till probably like a few years after its release. So it wasn't like an immediate rush out to go and watch it. And I'm quite glad, because I think I'd have been a bit like disappointed if I'd paid to go and watch it. Especially considering in 2014, like our local cinema was still like £15 a ticket.
Bloody hell.
That'd have been fuming.
That's
like,
crazy.
They only just went down in price to like a £5. So if I'd had to pay more, I wouldn't have been thrilled. Yeah. Disgusting. So we touched really, really briefly then on Perdita Weeks, who plays Scarlet.
Talk like she's in an Enid Blyton novel. Just talk normally. Oh look, golly gosh, here's a cave.
I knew that this was going to be like a really good button for Georgie to like hate on.
She does sound like she's in a famous 5 book.
Yeah, she does.
Right.
Yeah. She's got a really weirdly written character that is
that too.
100% self-centered, entitled, really privileged, and generally just not interested in anybody else. But sort of set to main, we're sort of made to like her, but we're not. We don't. We're
everybody
sort of meant
else
to be...
around it is more inherently likable than her.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
including the dead bodies in the catacombs.
Yeah. Like, she's like that old guy, like lying down with his little hat. I was like, he's a cool guy. He's just having a snooze in his Templar outfit, and here you are, just not giving a shit about your mate who's super claustrophobic. But I thought that was a really odd choice to make the lead character, like you said, sort of so inherently unlikable. Or is it not a choice? Is that a case of bad acting and writing?
It could be. I mean, I think they're trying to tread the line of like making a kind of like a Lara Croft, and as Georgie said, like an Indiana Jones kind of character. But Indiana Jones at the end of the day is just a normal dude that likes teaching, who just happens to get involved with really weird supernatural stuff. But at the end of the day, just a dude. Whereas in this, she's like, "Oh, I went to Oxford and I speak like this, and I'm going to go on an adventure."
Literally, this is it. Like on 100%. The face of it, she's this incredible, archaeologist, alchemy studying lady. I'm going to go and see my ex-lover in Paris. Like, shut up.
Paris.
I want to be you. Like, I want to be you. Shut up. Then I watched the film and I was like, actually, I hate everything about how you choose to be. Dodge that bullet, didn't I?
Yeah.
Charlotte.
I think even from like the first like scene that we have with her when she's in Iran, I think, in the Jeep, and she's just sort of saying how she knows that the punishment for trespassing where she is like getting buried up to the neck and all this and that. And then she's like, if they can catch me, and I'm like, no, do you know what? Fuck off. Go on, get stoned. I'm not interested in what you have to say.
Scarlet.
No, she's just not very nice. But she did. Perdita Weeks did also star in Spice World, so
That's
mean,
cool, I guess, to have on your resume.
I know. I mean, I can only imagine that's how she got the job, because the director was like,
Spice World,
spice up your life. Let's go. There's no other ways for it. So,
I mean,
sorry. Go on. No, go on, Sam.
I kind of appreciate that they're trying to at least give us somewhat of a character than just kind of like a blank slate, but the character itself is just bad.
Yeah, I think the character doesn't really work. She's completely like without remorse for all of the danger that she puts everybody in. She's trespassing. She's breaking and entering. She's causing loads of damage. She's like, when she's in the museum and she's just like taking things off the walls, I was like, no, Indiana Jones would not do that. How dare you?
Harrison Ford would never do that.
But you know who would do that? Nicolas Cage in
In National
Is
Treasure.
it called National Treasure? Yeah, I was like, the one where he steals the Declaration of Independence.
He is a
having
treasure.
Nicolas Cage argument again.
Yes, we are. But I just found that instantly I was less than enthused about the whole team. I felt really sorry for little George, who just didn't want to go down that horrible little hole and was just made to.
Yeah.
And basically didn't want to go on any of the adventure and was, dragged along. And then, you've got the cameraman Benji, and he sort of, again, is just another character who just gets left by the wayside. And
they're all kind of reluctant to do it, and yet she forces them to do it. It's like all the signs are there, don't go. And I get for the point of the film they have to go down it, but from the current character's point of view, all no go. This is a bad idea.
Yeah, and she's not like charismatic enough that you'd be like, yeah, I'll follow you to hell. I'd be like, no, I'm not even coming with you to the shop. Like, you're a horrible person. Like,
go away. Reply to your text message, mate.
No, I'm gonna read it. I'm gonna leave her on red for like 6 months. Like, I'm not gonna reply to that. Just
absolute savage.
So, did either of you know of any of the other sort of actors that were involved in the film, or even the director particularly before going in?
No, not really.
Do you think that sort of ended up being to the film's detriment, or do you think it enhanced the film for you?
I mean, it's kind of a double-edged sword. I guess if it had like a big name in it, then I don't know. Maybe the character might be more likable. There is that kind of factor to it. Everybody has an actor they like, and if they're in a movie, they're gonna probably go watch it because of them. But with the kind of unknown actors, I guess at the same point, it's nice to maybe see people kind of coming up through the ranks. It's a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
I think with found footage films, I don't know if it necessarily would work to have a super known actor in it, because if it's a found footage film and I see Chris Hemsworth, I'm like, okay, I read this online somewhere, but it's not like I don't know if it would necessarily gel in that particular way. But I think you're right, Sam, in that if you want someone to be likable, cast someone likable. Yeah. You know
or someone who can write characters well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we had a similar conversation when we talked about The Descent in an earlier video, where it helped that film along that the cast was quite sort of unknown, because it felt more like you were watching a documentary of these people who have just gone underground and sort of having a little look around, in comparison to films like Quiet Place or other horror films with famous people in, where you sort of go, where you go knowing it's going to be a big budget Hollywood spectacle, and you're like, this is what I signed on for. Like, great, we'll just let this wash over for a bit. I think there's sort of a difference in what you're trying to achieve if you're sort of casting big names with a big budget behind you versus a film like As Above, So Below.
There's only really one kind of found footage film that I can think of that works with like a semi-known guest, and that's Chronicle. It's got Dana and Michael B. Jordan and Miles Teller in it. Is it as well? No, it's not Miles Teller. I think somebody else. Could be wrong. But I think at the time when that came out, they weren't that famous.
They weren't as known,
as they are
now.
So
that's kind of like again, they're not as known, so you kind of relate to them a bit more, and it's a better movie.
Yes, that's true. I think you're all getting. I think you can probably by now get the sort of the vibe in the room for As Above, So Below. We tend to be quite positive in these shows, but today we're bringing our negative stick. Well. Okay, so on that note then, what aspects of As Above, So Below did you think worked or did not work?
I like the lore and like the actual mythic kind of side of it. That's really interesting, and like Joy said, on paper it sounds great, but the execution of it, not so much.
Yeah. Georgie, would you like to talk about the lore and the mythical side?
The myths.
Well, so obviously there's a whole Philosopher's Stone thing. Hello, Harry Potter, Nicholas Flamel. No one can hear that without thinking about Harry Potter.
Yeah.
You just can't. And I think something that really bothers me is, yes, the Philosopher's Stone has all of these incredible properties. However, you've got a found footage documentary, and it's quite based in realism, surely. And then she's like, "Oh, you're poorly. Here's a magic stone. You're healed now." Completely takes you out of it, I think.
Yeah.
Can take you out of this kind of gritty horror film and to be based in realism and like, oh, it's found footage. This happens to people, and then magic rock. Like, also, one of my biggest bugbears with this film. So they go to the gates of hell. I'm so sorry. I promised myself I wasn't going to do this.
Yeah, please do it. It's fine. Yeah.
And they see the inscription.
Yes.
Abandon all hope, ye who enter here.
Yes.
So, why is it in ancient Greek?
Yeah.
It's originally written in Italian. I have it here, underlined to read out to people. And even in the English translation, they got the word order wrong.
Yeah.
So, just takes you out of the realms of possibility. And it just, there were some good bits though, I suppose.
Nice.
I think, like I said before, it's like Sam said, on paper, it is a found footage horror film. It's all about, I literally wrote like my dissertation on hell. I was like, oh my God, is it about hell? All that kind of underworldy lore in the Catacombs of Paris, like you said. But I think in execution, they fumbled the bag a little bit.
Yeah,
there's no real stakes to it, especially like you said. You don't necessarily care about anybody making it out. Yeah, it's like you hate everybody anyway.
Yeah,
nobody wants to be there.
Yeah, the only person I wanted to survive was George. I was like, everyone else, I don't care.
Yeah.
It's like at the end when they're running away from all the people before they go back up the sewer tube. It's like, okay, I guess.
Yeah, yeah.
I guess.
All right, like you can stay down there, Scarlett, but you guys can go.
She probably would.
She would. No, because she's off to go and destroy some other, like, wonder of the world. Like, she's off to Machu Picchu
Pyramids.
next.
Fuck them, right?
Taj Mahal, nope.
Correct.
Okay then. So, what did work, if anything?
I guess kind of the look of the movie. Like the stuff when they get into hell does look really cool.
Yeah.
Like, it does, especially like the bit when they go like down the reversing corridor. That's really cool. I really like that as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, the look of the movie is great.
Yeah, cinematography wise, grand. That scene when they're in one of the channels and all the sound goes.
Yeah.
And they're trying to like figure out with the water in the walls. I thought that was brilliant. And I was reading as well when I was sort of putting together some notes that the director said that the sort of different chambers in the different rooms are meant to represent different levels of hell.
Okay.
So I was like, okay. Yeah. But I feel like you're telling me that afterwards when you realise that your film doesn't really make that much sense. Like, it's not
you're
like...
retconning your own film,
Yeah, to try and explain away a lot of things, because I found, plot-wise, there was many a gap, like Swiss cheese level of gaps. But I think I really liked everything before they reminded us that they were looking for a magic stone.
Yeah, I get what you mean.
And then I was like,
like out of it.
The piano and the phone, amazing.
It's exactly like you said, in terms of
that
the
was
quiet
really creepy.
room, the auditory horror that they use in it, I think, and the auditory
when that car was on fire.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Especially because they filmed it all in the catacombs, and the whole cast and crew, well, not the cast, Scarlett wouldn't be fucking helping, would she? The crew actually got a car in there to set on fire.
I didn't know that.
Fascinating. Yeah, because it's filmed in the actual catacombs.
There's not many films that have actually been filmed inside it, is there? I think this is one of the first.
Yeah, I think a lot of it, it's in like a very not like a very trampled part, but it's not like a more sacred part or anything. It's not really that sacred anyway.
So there's a bit more leeway.
Yeah, it's a bigger open, the bit that they don't really consider to be scary.
Right.
There's no there's no bones. If you imagine looking at it, have you guys been?
I've been to Paris. I've not been to Catacombs.
Georgie, have you been?
Yeah.
So it is bones. The bones are literally everywhere. Like, you go through the first little tunnel, and it's like a little cobbly tunnel, and then you get out into like the first chamber, and it's mainly bricks, and then there's like some carvings and stuff, and then as you go, all the walls are lined with bones, and there's like 40 million, or I don't know how many there are. There's loads, and it's literally floor to ceiling skulls and bones and femurs and stuff, but there's none in the film. Which is why I was like, well, I know you're in the catacombs, but I need to see more tourist catacombs to be like,
I get what you mean.
There's that, because there's a bit where like the skulls are arranged in like, are they arranged in a big cross, or are they arranged in
something
like
that? Yeah.
Like that would have been amazing to see, because I mean I know I've seen it in my life, but it's just that sort of signifier that they're actually in there, compared to like on a set built to look like that, because I think that's a really like impressive feat that they managed to get all the equipment and be in there.
Yeah, show it off, if you're in, you might be in a bit where like arson's okay, but if you're in quite an iconic place, showcase it a little bit maybe.
I think that's the thing as well, like if the film kind of started already in there and did not talk about any of the kind of goal, you wouldn't necessarily know it was the French catacombs. It could just be any kind of like mysterious tunnel in an adventure movie kind of thing.
That's very
absolutely
true,
and there's a lot of catacombs, because there's catacombs like all over the world. There's like some in York, I think, as well, and there's some in Dublin, but like the Paris ones are the ones, and I think I love that they went in like in such a nondescript area. Like it's just off the side of some railway tracks, and then down like a little crevice. I was like, that's terrifying. That's boss. You could just fall in that one day and be in the catacombs. But then there was just like, you sort of get in, and you have the creepy chanting people who were amazing.
Like, the choir, auditory horror, creepy.
Yeah,
I love it.
Terrifying. And then we never see them again, and they were boss. And I'm like, bring them back. And if it was a surrealist horror film where they were just trapped in the maze and like objects kept appearing, I'd have been sound. I'd have been like, yeah, that was boss.
That sounds like a much better film. Yeah. I would watch that.
I think so too. Right, so if you were in the catacombs, what particular object would you encounter that would shit you up?
I don't know. I think if we're in the proper catacombs and there's bones around, I mean, that's pretty chilling in itself, that a man-made structure full of bones is currently surrounding me. If we're in the film world, that car on fire is still in my head. That's such a haunting image.
Yeah, that's crazy, isn't it? And then it's ruined because he gets like sucked into it by his legs, and then his legs are just sticking out a wall, and you're like, okay.
That's pretty much the film.
There you go. Yeah, it's literally like, ooh, striking. And I know you've.
It's like it takes two steps forward with like quite a good concept, and then like a billion steps back immediately after.
Yeah.
I think that's this film is like when you lose a sneeze. Like when you're about to sneeze, you're like, oh.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what it's like. It just doesn't.
Yeah. Definitely. It's just, there's so many aspects that should have come together to work really, really well. And yet the execution was not particularly carried off very well.
Yeah. It's a shame because like up to like kind of the midway part of the film, I was really into it. And I don't know, it just doesn't keep up the momentum at all.
No, I feel like halfway through they went to try and be a different film.
Yeah.
And then 3/4 of the way through, maybe that wasn't quite working, so they had to go a different direction again. And in the end, I just get to the point where I'm really not that invested anymore.
Yeah. It's like they've got the footage aspect of it, and they're committed to that for at least half the film, and then they want to try and be like a proper conventional horror.
Yeah.
But they're still tied to the found footage part of it, and they can't escape it. So there's like an awkward dance between juggling the two like visions.
Like cinematic whiplash.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so it only got a 26% on Rotten Tomatoes. I guess we all agree with that rating, or would we rate it even lower? Would we give it a little more?
I think that's fairly fair for it, to be honest.
Yeah.
I was going to try and be nice and be like, I'll give it a little bit more. Then I was like, no, you won't.
No. I think really it's fine if you're not really expecting much. If you want some interesting visuals, maybe a few good ideas for your own work, maybe have a little look, see what's going on. If you wondered what that girl, if you wondered what that girl in Spice World was up to, she's doing this. And yeah, I think for people, maybe if you're fans of like claustrophobia horror, you'll probably have like a great time. If you're into your myths and your lore, probably not going to have a great time because it feels like they've put them on Wikipedia but didn't research any further.
Yeah, it does feel like a Wikipedia's like summary.
Yeah, because also riddles translated into English wouldn't rhyme in English. I just put that out there. Like, if they were first written in like Aramaic or whatever, they're not going to rhyme in English millions of years later.
It won't.
But we do need to bring back writing stuff in riddles because we don't do that anymore, and that's a shame. That would be so fun. Okay, to round us up then, because Zoom's telling me that we only have 7 minutes left. What mythical or magical artifact would you stage a huge... I was going to say heist, but I've been playing too much Uncharted. Would you stage a huge adventure to go and find?
I think because I'm riding the Last Crusade kind of binge from watching Indiana Jones again. The Holy Grail.
Yeah.
There's so much you can do with that.
You're going for the big guns.
You're going for the
nice.
Yeah.
The Holy Grail. Like,
come on, man.
Nice.
That reminds me, if Scarlet was a character in Indiana Jones, she would be the blonde woman in the Last Crusade that walks over the seal and dooms everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah. Georgie?
What I was going to ask you.
Oh, all right, okay. Mine's not a thing, it's a place.
Okay.
Right, okay. Mine would be to go and find the lost city of El Dorado and all the gold.
Can I come with you and meet you like a remake of the film?
Yes, you can. We'll get a nice horse. It'll be wonderful.
Amazing. That's clever. I like that.
Yep. I'm fairly sure it's somewhere in the Amazon. Go on, what's yours?
Mine was going to be the Spear of Destiny.
Nice.
That's boring.
Nice.
I won't find Atlantis now.
You can't come get in on my dreams.
Never mind.
Between us, we'd all have a pretty successful haul. We'd all be immortal, rich, and have a weapon.
Yeah,
nice.
And we can just take over the world.
Yeah,
exactly.
And we can base it in El Dorado so no one can find us. There
we go.
Yeah.
Right, post Zoom meeting, guys. We're going to be having a little conversation about this.
Power about this. Amazing. Right, thank you very much, Sam, for joining us.
Yes, thank you for having me.
You're very welcome. Please visit again. So, where can fans of this find fans of your work? Where can we find your stuff? Where can we check
you can find me on Twitter at _Sunday_rain_ all the underscores.
We'll put that in the little commenty box thing.
There you go.
Yeah.
And you'll find me like retweeting JumpCast and your guys' stuff all the time.
You're a good egg.
The quiz today between you and I went live as well, so you can check that out on Spotify. And yeah, that's pretty much all we've got going on at the minute. Yeah. So JumpCast arranged a huge quiz called the Try Quizzed Tournament that took place over the last few weeks/months. It started with 16 people. It did, 16. Yeah. 16 people, whittled down to just 2, which was me and Sam. Exactly.
And if you
I'm
check
very proud of you both.
Thank you. Thanks, Mom.
Thanks, Mom.
So check out the episode, which is live now, and you can see who was victorious. But it's nice to see that the victory hasn't come between our future plans to take over the world.
No spoilers or anything, but yes, I agree.
Grand. Cool. Well, thank you again, and we'll see you all soon. Check out the other videos in the channel. We've got some stuff about comics. We've got some stuff about video games, and we'll keep bringing you new stuff. Stay safe, stay inside. We'll see you soon. Bye.
Bye.